Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Big Mike back here once again, along with Jackson, the puppy. And I am bringing you my thoughts and the results for not one, not two, technically not two, but three wrestling events that happened earlier last week slash this past Saturday. So, let's get into it and let's see what you think. First up, we have WrestleKingdom Night Numero Uno. Now, if you know WrestleKingdom, that's for New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is their big show. Usually have more American competitors in it, Jericho, Omega, etc. But due to the things that are going on, they haven't been here in at least 3 years, maybe more. Anyway, let's get into it. First match, night one pre-show, we have the New Japan Rambo, which is a sort of hybrid battle royal slash pin multiple fall match, where the last fall then compete in a match on night two to determine the King of Pro Wrestling, which, I mean, it's a joke title. It's not a real title, it's a trophy. Which, you know, it's fun. Toriano has held this title the last couple years, and he's a jokey character, which is fine. Nothing wrong against him. Hold up. Participants. Ooh, it doesn't list all the participants. Well, the last four in the match were Chase Owens, who won it last year. Then Toriano beat him later in the year. Sema, who was a surprise entrant. He wrestles for Wrestle One, and I believe has done some dates for AEW pre-COVID. Minoru Suzuki, who has got done with his U.S. excursion to like AEW and Impact and all kinds of other promotions he's been in, which is great. And of course, Toriano, which, yeah, that's great. I love that. These are a great mix of characters from, different staples and promotions, which, big thumbs up for me. It always takes me out of it when they stop at the last four, though. It's unique, and I get it's to set up a match between those four, but, battle royals, etc. should be last man standing. No? Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. Either way, solid battle. First main match of night one, you'll have Yo, representing Chaos, taking on Sho, who was his former partner, turned on him and joined Bullet Club and joined the branch with Evil and who else was in there? Who else is a part of this group? Hold on, Yujiro Takahashi, apparently. So, that's quite a team. They have a story going on throughout the night. Lots of quick matches, a lot of near falls, and it was a very enjoyable opener. With Yo getting the shock big victory. Not only this, but a few other things will set up matches later. God damn it. Not later in the night, but the next day. Night 2. Next match is a 6-man tag team match, playa. I don't believe any titles are on the line. Yeah, no titles are on the line. as we have Kenta, who will be defending his U.S. title the next day, Tashi Ishimori, and El Fantasmo, who are going to be competing for the junior title on night 2. Juniors tag team titles. And their opponents, Hiroshi Tanahashi, who will be challenging Kenta in a no DQ match, and that's big because he's more of a pure type of wrestler. And another third of the junior heavyweight tag team championship challengers, you have the mega coaches, which is Rocky Romero and Ryusuke Taguchi. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. Oh, good again. Good back and forth for the match. But that match ended kind of on a sour note as Takahashi brought out a chair, which, again, he's not an extreme wrestler, and he beats Kenta down with it, which is kind of crazy to think about. So yeah, match ends in a DQ. We'll see these guys and others night 2. Next up, we have the United Empire, another 6-man tag team match playa. As we have the United Empire, Will Ospreay, who's been touting that he is the actual IWGP World Champion, considering he was only stripped of it due to illness. I don't think it was COVID, though. No, it was injury. That's what it was. And then he brought Great O'Khan in. I think he was the first kind of big recruit for the United Empire. And the big man, Jeff Cobb, which, that's a scary dude to think about. Oh, my God. And they are taking on LIJ, that being Tetsuya Naito, who I believe we'll see on night 2. I'm not sure. And Sanada and Ibushi. I believe Ibushi is challenging for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title on night 2. This match was very hard hitting. It was also very quick when Ospreay was in there, which is interesting. And especially when we saw Bushi try to take on Jeff Cobb, that was interesting. An interesting dynamic. Ultimately, United Empire wins via Will Ospreay's finish. I forget the name of it. I'm sorry. And Ospreay challenges winner of the main event of night 1 to the main event of night 2. And then Cobb and Great O'Khan have their own singles matches. So, some interesting things to do. Next up is a singles match and the return match for Kitori Shibata, who has been out with some potential life-threatening injuries due to... Honestly, that was back in 2013. I'm not 100% sure what happened to him, but it was enough to take him out of wrestling until now. The opponent was a mystery for the longest time. Ends up, it's one of his students from the LA dojo, Ren Narita, which, honestly, that was very surprising. I like Ren Narita. I've seen him a whole bunch on New Japan Strong. He looks great. And then Shibata goes into business for himself, grabs the microphone and says, No, I don't want this to be a no striking contest. I feel great. Let's have a wrestling match. And that's what they did. Both guys beat the ever loving heck out of each other. It was a great pace. It felt like a great wrestling match. It honestly felt kind of like watching Edge come back. Although I guess that's not really fair, but whatever. Um, no real interferences, no gang wars. It was just a classic wrestling match, and both guys looked great. Shibata with a big old submission victory, and a big handshake afterwards between student and teacher. And boy, oh boy, was that enjoyable. I cannot wait to see what Shibata does in the future. Hopefully, walking a bit through a forbidden door, maybe. Although Japan is closed down like Fort Knox right now, so we'll see what happens there. Next up, a singles match for the Never Openweight Championship as Evil, who is head of the House of Torture, takes on Tomohiro Ishii. And these two are some hard hitters. And of course, Evil has to get his boys involved. Again, very hard hitting affair. Evil cheats to win. 1, 2, 3. New openweight champion. And he kind of runs the never openweight division, as he has, along with the House of Torture, the 6-man belts. So that's going to be interesting to see going forward. Next up, we have for the IWGP World Tag Team Championships, we have Chaos being represented by Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. I believe they won the World Tag League this year. Yeah, I think that's right. And they are taking on the champions, the Dangerous Takers, which is Taichi Ishimori. No, is that right? It's just Taichi, so could be anyone. And Zack Sabre Jr., who I'm surprised he hasn't fallen off the face of the world yet. Although he's a good wrestler. This match, despite being for the heavyweight tag team champions, they have a light heavyweight tag division too. This was very fast paced. Even when Zack Sabre Jr. came in, the pace kind of kept up. It was interesting to watch, and eventually winners and new tag team champions. Chaos, which I didn't see that coming. I'm definitely glad these guys got their shot and won. So big ups from me. Next up, we have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. As El Desperado. Oh, Bushi isn't the champion. Whoops. Takes on Hiromu Takahashi, the ace of the Junior Heavyweight division. And I'll say this, they went all out on this match. This was a great, high-paced, over-the-top rope affair. And as much as I thought Takahashi was going to get another big victory on WrestleKingdom, winner and still Junior Heavyweight Champion, El Desperado. So that's a good win. I like the story being told in the match. It was entertaining. Thumbs up. And finalamo for night 1. We have the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match as Kazuchika Okada, the G1 Climax winner, which is their tournament to crown a number 1 contender for this, takes on Shingo Takagi. I apologize. Um, this was definitely an interesting bout. A lot of counters to the Rainmaker. Actually, a lot of hits with the Rainmaker too on both sides, which was interesting. Um, Takagi often screaming at Okada, saying stuff like, "This is my time, you're in the past, I'm the present," yada yada. And then, Okada hulks up, if you know what I mean. And he hits a couple of Rainmakers in a row. 1, 2, 3. Winner and new, for now, IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Kazuchika Okada. This was a dang fine match, very hard hitting, very interestingly paced. I wouldn't say it was perfectly paced, but it was damn good, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And it was a heck of a bout. And post match, out comes Will Ospreay running his mouth once again. So yeah, that's the main event of night 2. It's Will Ospreay taking on Okada. So that should be fun. Can't wait. Alright. Now, next up, we have some interesting matches to get to for night 2, as there were some additions to the pre-show that weren't available for me to predict on when I made my predictions. So, first up, 6-man tag. This is all on the pre-show, though, by the way. You have Yuji Nagata, Blue Thunder, whatever he calls himself. Bad Luck Fale. Oh, no, wait. And Togi Makabe and Toma Hana. I don't even know how to express that. Take on Bullet Club members Bad Luck Fale, Jetto, and Jado. This match was really interesting because it had a ton of different styles, but for it to be this to be on the pre-show, it feels like it really doesn't belong. Match ended quick with a Yuji Nagata finisher and a 1, 2, 3. So, not a terribly long match, but for a pre-show match, it is what it is. Alright, next up, another 6-man tag. Again, still on the pre-show, so don't you worry about that. We have Master Wato and Hiroshi Tenzin and Satoshi Kojima. Oh, Kojima. Taking on the team of Suzuki-gun, which is El Desperado, Yoshihiro Kananiru. I don't even know how to say that. And Taka Michinoku, who made his return to New Japan pretty recently, I think. Surprisingly quick-paced match. And Wato and his team got the win there. Again, a kind of a nothing match. It was fun for what it was, but it's kind of a match that didn't really matter, And finally, final match on the pre-show, promise. You have yet another 6-man tag team title, 6-man match. You have LIJ, which is Shingo Takagi, the former champion, Bushi, and Hiromu Takahashi, taking on Suzuki-gun members Tachi, Zack Sabre Jr., the former tag team champions, and Doku, who was in the Rambo. Again, another quick-paced warm-up pre-show match, which I do appreciate. Overall, LIJ with another big win, despite Takagi not having his title anymore. Maybe this will lead to something with House of Torture. Who knows? Alright, now we have the first match on the main card. Man, that was a lot to get through, as it's a three-way tag match. So not a six-man tag. You have 2-on-2-on-2 for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. There they are. As you have the champions, Flying Tiger, which is Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask, who is an old school superstar, as they take on the Mega Coaches, Taguchi and Rocky Romero, and the Bullet Club members, Taji Ishimori and El Phantasmo. Now, the story for this match has been, El Phantasmo's loaded boot, which he has, this metal thing in which the other teams held him down, while Egos takes his boot off and finds what he's been stuffing his boot with, in which the ref throws them out of the match, which is hilarious. The reaction by Phantasmo was fantastic. Did not mean to make that pun. So match continues with the Tigers and Mega Coaches, in which they had a barn burner. They looked great together. Winners and still champions. Flying Tiger. Great match. Great storytelling. And I enjoyed myself with that one. Next up, we have a Stardom exhibition match. Now, I am not that familiar with Stardom. I'm sorry to say. I am trying to get acquainted with it. I have found their YouTube page, and they do have some events on there, and I am taking my time and going through them. Alright, in this match are Tam Neko, Saya Matiri, Mayu Awada, and Starlight Kid. So those are the two teams. And I will say I liked what I saw. They definitely brought the talent to the ring that is really neat. Not necessarily needed, but encouraged. And winners are Namco and Kentamara. Solid match. And I'll do my best to keep up with Stardom. Next up is the Fatal 4-Way match to crown the new King of Pro Wrestling. As you have Minoru Suzuki, former champion Chase Owens, for Sema on loan from Wrestle 1, and Toru Yano, the last couple years champion, actually. It was entertaining for what it was. Multiple times, the other three would try to team up against Suzuki to no avail. And Suzuki latched on his finisher on, I want to say it was Yano. I could have sworn it was Yano. Either way, winner and new King of Pro Wrestling 2022, Minoru Suzuki. And it was a fun, relatively harmless bout, with some pretty decent wrestling in there too. Next up, for the Never Open Weight 6-man tag team titles, say that 10 times fast, we have the House of Torture, which is Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, and Sho, taking on Chaos members Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Yo. Yo. Now, these teams have their wins over their respective opponents on night one, which is fantastic. Great momentum leading into this match. Which was a decent bout, although Evil definitely slowed it down quite a bit. Like, I can tell he's not the strongest wrestler in the world, but that's just me. Ultimately, yeah, House of Torture with a big submission win. So, thumbs up for me from that. Next up, a bit of a spotlight match as we have Sonata taking on the Great Okan. A sort of rematch from the 6-man on night one. Ultimately a fun bout. Sonata definitely got his stuff in. Sonata using his speed while Great Okan tried to overpower Sonata, which I thought was a great touch. Overall, not a bad match in which Sonata gets the victory. I wouldn't say it was great, though, either. It wasn't super memorable, but it was a decent big guy versus small guy dynamic that I do enjoy. So I'll give it a thumbs up. Next up, an interesting match that I don't think we've seen yet from New Japan. We have Tetsuya Naito taking on Jeff Cobb, in which, oh boy, did these two guys bring it. And it looked like a couple of times Cobb was going to take Naito's head off, which was beautiful. Although Naito ending up with the big victory, and I'm definitely okay with that. Naito, I feel like Naito has slid down the field a little bit, but now I think he's kind of back. At least for now. Next up, for the IWGP US title, handled under no DQ rules, we have Hiroshi Tanahashi challenging Kenta. Now, Kenta, for weeks and weeks and weeks, like before this match even took place, he had a briefcase which gave him a shot at the US title, which he cashed in against Jon Moxley, in which he lost, I believe. Yeah, he lost, and then Archer got it from Mox, and then Tanahashi got it for a little while. And then Kenta cashed in again, which I guess you can do that, and won the title. So this is kind of a rematch, and it's under no DQ rules because that's what Kenta wanted. And immediately, these boys bring out the weapons. Kendo sticks, chairs, tables. There was a ladder spot. It's crazy, it's entertaining, and I love it. These two bled quite a bit too, which is interesting. And after an 054, is that what? No, Timebreaker, I think it's called. Taishi hits it off the ladder, through a table, pin, new IWGP US title champion. And I think that was one of my favorite matches of the two nights. Like, no offense to any other match, I think this match really brought the intensity between the two competitors, and they actually felt like they wanted to kill each other. Which, maybe they did. I don't know. So, big old thumbs up from me. Next match, your main event of both nights, as Okada defends his IWGP World Title against Will Ospreay. And it was a quality bout. These guys had some great chemistry together. One point, you see Okada powering out of Ospreay's ground finisher. I think he even kicked out of. No, he dodged a Ospreay's corner finisher, which is like a roaring elbow, I guess. And then after a couple of rainmakers, a 1-2-3 winner, and still IWGP World Champion Okada. Now, this isn't where the story ends, as out comes Tetsuya Naito, a bit of a rival for Okada, and he said, I want next, which is, we're going to be getting that sooner rather than later, I bet. And hopefully it's going to be a heck of a bout. So, that's Wrestle Kingdom down. Next up, Impact Wrestling, Hard to Kill. If you will give me one moment. Hey, gassy boy. All right. Now here we are for Hard to Kill. And I gotta say, I don't think there was a bad match of the bunch. Every match delivered something unique and good. Uh, First match of the pre-show was kind of a late addition, as we had Jake something take on Madman Fulton. I guess they needed something for Fulton to do, as Ace Austin is in a four-way on another pre-show match. I'll get to that one. Interestingly hard-hitting affair. As Jake something isn't exactly a big beefy boy, but Fulton is. So Jake something outspeeds him and gets a much needed victory. I hope Impact does something with Jake something. And hopefully this is the start of it. All right. Next match. Next pre-show match. We have a fatal four-way X Division showcase. So we have Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Laredo Kid, and the debut, and I guess the U.S. return of Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, I believe he has been having visa issues the last couple of years, so he's been stuck in Canada. So this is his big U.S. return, and I was very impressed with what I saw. I think Bailey worked really well with each guy, and I am very excited for the future for him, as he gets a big old victory. Big old thumbs up from me. Now, the opening match of the main show is a little crazy because it's a Knockouts Ultimate X match. Basically, Ultimate X is a ladder match without the ladder, although I have seen people use a ladder in this match to really no avail. And this is the first time the women are taking part. Now, participants include Tasha Steele, Alicia Edwards, who I believe replaced someone. I forget who. Rachel Ellery. That's who it was. Chelsea Green, who was my pick. Jordan Grace, who is the digital media champion. Lady Frost, who is getting her kind of main roster debut. And Rosemary. And these ladies absolutely brought it. Lady Frost with a moonsault off one of the ruts of the Ultimate X structure onto a pile of ladies. Jordani Grace and I believe it was Aisha Edwards. Or it was Chelsea Green. They had each other in a position while trying to climb the ropes. And they both let go and kind of Jordani Grace landed on her behind while Chelsea Green kind of took a stunner. But your winner and new number one contender for the Knockouts Championship, Tasha Steele, which that's interesting. I am glad she is getting a big push. She has done some great developing into not only a character, but in the ring. She is very, very good. And I am very happy she is getting this shot. Next match, singles match for the X Division Championship as Trey Miguel defends against Steve Macklin. And boy, oh boy, did these two guys bring it. It was a much needed singles bout to finally shut Macklin's mouth. As he was like, oh, I never got pinned, I never lost to Trey, blah, 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 which, he's got a point. But now, he takes a lot. A lot of high flying by both guys, actually. Including a spot where Miguel almost kicked some fans in the front row of the show, which was interesting. Trey hit a couple of finishers, 1, 2, 3, still champion, and now, per stipulation by Gail Kim, if you remember her, Steve Macklin cannot challenge for the X Division Championship while Trey holds it. So, maybe we see someone else challenge. Hopefully someone like Mike Bailey? That'd be a hell of a match. I'm giving this match a big old thumbs up. Oh, and here's a doozy, a match that I recommend every single one of you go and find. For the Ring of Honor World Championship, that's right, and it's under pure rules. You'll have Jonathan Gresham, the Octopus, the ROH original champion, concerning the current champion is Bandito, in which we'll see him defend his title as well, considering he did in that final battle. And he's taking on Ring of Honor alum Chris Sabin, in which, hot dang, this was a dang good match. It looked, at near the endish of the match, it looked like Sabin had Gresham in a pinfall, but Gresham used one of his rope breaks. I'd say a little too late, though, because the ref absolutely counted the 3. So, we'll see. Maybe Chris Sabin challenges again one day. But yeah, Gresham continues his tour. Gets a big old win. Big fun match for me. And next match, we have the match I think I've been waiting the most to see. We have Josh Alexander taking on Jonah, the former Bronson Reed. Jonah had his debut last month, I believe it was. No, it was Bound for Glory. Really? No, it was post Bound for Glory? When the heck was it? Anyway, Jonah came down, beat up Alexander, and now we have this match, which is I'm all for. They over-delivered. Jonah going for a couple of his big splashes in which Josh Alexander moves out of the way. And then Alexander with a big old ankle lock a la Kurt Angle for the big win, and I guess kind of an upset. So he still stays good for his eventual challenge against the world champion. Who might that be? We'll see. Alright, next up is an interesting match that I didn't really have much expectations for. It is the Hardcore War. Essentially, it's Lethal Lockdown without the cage. Individual members come out per a timer, join the fight and bring out weapons. And boy, oh boy, was it a bit of a cluster, you know what? But kind of in a good way. Last two men to enter was Joe Doring and Rhino, which, put the big guys out last. Makes some sense. Finish came after a gore through the table on Joe Doring. And then I think Heath Slater got his finisher on Carl Anderson for the win. So technically, Heath pinned the champion, the one half of the tag team champions. Maybe they get a shot in the near future. But then, an interesting thing happens. Two hooded figures come out and start beating on the baby faces. And it's like, oh, who could this be? Who could this be? Take it off. Mike Bennett and Matt Taven of the OGK. Bennett making his return, Taven making his debut. And not only that, we have Vincent, 1/3 of the current ROH 6-man tag team champions, and former rival of Matt Taven. So that's going to be interesting to see how they coexist. And the final man out, PCO, the monster himself. Hot dang, I lost my god dang mind. We have an ROH invasion. And instead of feeling dread like the last few times I have with Impact and GCW, and then, the mess that was WWF versus WCW, I'm really kind of excited for this because this could lead to some interesting things in the future, including an announcement the other day that ROH will be making its date on April the 1st for Supercard of Honor. Maybe we see some Impact versus ROH stuff, in which I am down. Let's do that. So, match itself was okay. Post-match angle, I'm all in. Let's do it. Next match, triple threat match for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. As we have Moose defending his championship against Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder, and W. Morrissey, the former Big Cass. This, again, wasn't a pretty match. They definitely brought out the weapons, although mostly just chairs, which was fine. I believe Chelsea Green distracted Cardona long enough for Moose to hit his spear finisher for the win. Winner and still Impact World Champion, Moose. And now our main event of the evening, a Texas Death Match for the Knockouts Championship. As current champion, Mickie James defends against former two-time champion Deonna Purrazzo. And of course, we had the announcement that Mickie James will now be in the Royal Rumble, which is interesting upon itself. So matchup starts kind of slowly, but then it builds, it builds. They brought out the chairs, the kendo sticks, the thumbtacks, in which Mickey took a really gnarly bump. Pinfalls aplenty, although I guess in a Texas death match you have to pin someone and then you have the count, which honestly that confused me a little bit, but it didn't take me out of the match enough to where I ultimately enjoyed it. Match finish came after a Mick DDT through the thumbtacks, and then Mickey buried Purrazzo under tables until you hit the 10 count, and that'll do it. Your winner and still Knockouts champion, and potentially bringing it to the Royal Rumble, Mickie James. So I definitely had Purrazzo penciled in to win this match, but I'm okay with her losing here, as we could easily vote someone else up. I mean, you already have Tasha Steelz waiting in the wings. So this is going to get interesting, folks. Stay tuned. Overall, both shows, thumbs up. There were some down moments, but not enough to take me out of the shows. So I really hope you guys did enjoy. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your favorite match of any of these nights were. And I shall see you... What's the next big thing? I think the next big one is the Rumble, which, yeah, I'm intrigued by. Should I make... Leave your opinion in the comments. Should I make a predictions video for the Royal Rumble? And, yeah, that'll do it. I thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Peace.